What's going on YouTube? This is Deke back with another Sorare video. So we're talking about the MLS. This is the next installment and this is part 3. So today we have the Chicago Fire. Some moving parts, some nice pieces, some not so nice pieces. As you can see here, so if you're new to this series, in red are the designated players. As you can see here, they have another one available. That new signing, I've heard rumors, but there's nothing concrete about the right back, and Soquet could be one of them. But I just don't really have a grasp on a right back for this team right now. So we're about a month out, I think, officially a month out today. So we'll take a look at each one of these players and see where they fall in. So let's start with Chris Brady. So this is a high dollar as far as your Sorare dollar goes. He is $100 in terms of limited, and then he is going for 0.85, a big jump, and his floor is listed at 1.15. So I am in the goalie market as I've had some issues. Hasal, not probably going to be the starter. They might be bringing in people. I mean, it's tough. But if you look here, Brady is the ultimate, Salinina replacement. So he's only 18 years old, turns 19 March 2nd. He should be the spot-on starter. If we take a look at the other goalies on the roster, we have Richie and Miskovic. And, look at their prices. Doesn't have cards, and the backup right there. The other, I believe, Gall. Let's see if we can pull him up. I probably won't have him. We'll just not worry about it. He is a new signing, and I believe he is signed to be the backup. So that's something of note. Okay, let's move on to our defensive line here. So I actually like one of the pieces on this defensive line. So we'll start with left back at one of the Navarros. So Miguel Angel Navarro, he is under 23 until about halfway through this season, through June. If we take a look at his scores, he had some nice upside games. He did start at left back. He's pretty spot on at left back. Look at this stretch here, a really nice stretch in which they didn't concede in one. So look at that AA. He has the opportunity to get some big AA games. And if you're trying to kind of put together a stack, you could definitely stack him together with Brady. I like a different player a little bit more. But this New York City FC team, they're going to be a completely new identity. And as much as Chicago Fire aren't, they aren't the craziest team in the East by any means. They could surprise on the opening day against a team that I think will be battling to even make the playoffs in New York City FC. But we'll see how that team kind of goes together. At left center back, I have Syzochis. I don't know. Syzochis. I botched that completely, but he did have a 100 score. He is kind of a spot-on center back. Look at this stretch here, 78.8, 100, 76.5, a goal, and a negative 11 AA saver. He had some nice scores. A lot to like about him. A lot to like about this back line. They concede, but they put up some huge AA games because they have been on their back foot a lot. The guy that I signed personally, you can see I own him with that red background you can't see, but I bought one of his cards. So Carlos Tehran, and he's kind of a fixture in my under 23s. He's like a backup. I'll have him in my second team, but I do like him. He doesn't have these scores that some of the other guys have, but he is a year older and a year more adjusted into this lineup. He is kind of a spot-on center back as well, other than just kind of being out of the lineup until he kind of produce himself. He wasn't expected to be like the starter out of the gate. As you can see here, he kind of won his spot, and I believe those scores will be pretty high. If you have a Chris Brady stack, he is safe through the entire year and through 2025. He was pretty cheap. I paid around 0.07 for the rare. If you take a look at his limited, it's only $10. So you can't really go wrong with that price, in my opinion, and one to watch. Like I said, the right back, I don't know who it's going to be, new signing. Let's take a look at the midfield. As we can see here, Jimenez and the other Navarro. And then we got Chris Mueller out on the left attacking mid, Jordan Shaqiri, and a new signing. Well, not new signing, but as far as he should get a new card this year, not his Atlas card, Torres there. So let's go through each of these guys. Jimenez is 31 years old. If you look, he was injured to end the year last season. He had a really nice 5-game stretch here where he was in the green every single time. He is consistent. He's not going to kill you, that's for sure. He does have a couple 30s in those yellow ranges, but they're pretty much all very solid. So he's not going to kill you. If you take a look at his price, he is $2.71 and only 0.04. His contract does expire in December. So this will be the last season with the Chicago Fire unless they re-sign him. But he is just a reliable guy who will put up decent scores for a very cheap price. Next one is another under 23, Federico Navarro, and he is a little bit more expensive of the two central mids. You can see some high scoring games and then some low. So he's more the volatile of the two. As far as decisives go, he has scored. He had 2 goals here. Excuse me. And a couple assists there to go with that, a red card here. But other than that, he has some really upside games. And a lot of these guys, whenever I was looking over, I didn't really think I would like a lot of the guys on Chicago Fire. They have some really nice pieces that for the Sorare game, they might not be, a team that pushes for top of the division. Could they challenge a little bit for the playoffs? I don't know. I think I still have them as the outside looking in as I'm going through some of these teams, as some of the teams have gotten better. But they're one to watch. If they can get a right back in, glaring hole, it'll be interesting to see. Chris Mueller, so he doesn't have any cards that are with the Chicago Fire. But look at his scores as well. And you're sensing a theme, when one plays well, a lot of the guys play well. So that bodes well for stacks, which I didn't think coming into this video, I'd be talking about Chicago Fire and stacks. So you can stack up a couple of these guys. He is very goal dependent, assist dependent. So he doesn't really score very well unless he is getting those decisives. So he kind of rolls if the rest of the team rolls. So Chris Mueller, I wouldn't buy him, but looking at his price, $20, a little bit more expensive than you'd want to pay. Shaqiri, so he was the kind of main signing that they got. He is still only 31. I say only because I feel like he's been around for so long. And he is coming in around $25, a little bit more expensive on the rare. And if we take a look at he had the upside as well. He has some low scoring games. And it's crazy. He went to the World Cup. He scored in the World Cup and had an assist at the World Cup and played in 3 out of 4 matches. So just because you're in the MLS doesn't mean you can't go, especially as an elder statesman in the game, coming over to the MLS and playing for a team that wasn't that great for the last few years. So he does score, he does get assists, he's decisive. That's really all you can say about him. He needs to get those decisives to hit those upper echelon games, but that's with a lot of these players. So interesting. I'm probably not going to be, especially I'm an under 23 guy, so he doesn't fit my cup of tea, but very interesting to say the least. Torres, coming over from Atlas a couple years ago, 21-22, and he is interesting. So he is a designated player, and he's also under 23 until 2025. So if we take a look here, he did get, I believe it was an injury of some sort and missed pretty much the rest of the season. But he came on as a sub and then made a starting role as a designated player. You would like to see a little bit more out of him. So if we look back to his Atlas days, he kind of played a central position, and he played a little striker as well. Not the best scorer of all time, and for the Sorare game, I just can't justify paying. Will he be a little bit better than his stats said? Yes, I think so. I do have him pegged as the right winger, right attacking mid starter. So it'll be interesting to see how he kind of translates. It's tough to come over first season in the MLS. It's a different game than the Liga MX game, and he's playing a different role. So will he adjust into that role? Maybe. I'm just not touching him. And the last one is our striker, Preseason. And I probably botched that as well. I mean, I've seen him. He's been all over the MLS. So if you're an MLS fan, you've seen him. He's been everywhere. So he is the epitome of goal dependent. So he's not going to put up your huge AA games, although he did have, I'm sure these are just shots on goal because that's kind of all he does. He has some negative AA games, and if he scores or assists, that's when he's going to be in the green. I wouldn't touch him even at $3 as a starting striker. Actually, you could talk me into $3 for a starting striker that cheap and his rare especially, but the scores just aren't going to come. You have to hit a goal. So part of the stack, I guess, if you're going to have to play a forward, I don't know. Like Shaqiri, I believe it's a midfield card. Torres has a forward card. So out of the two of them, I mean, I'd probably play Kakper there. So interesting. Chicago Fire. Again, I like pieces of them. I like them more for Sorare than I do in their prospects in the MLS. So interesting. There's going to be stacks that are pretty solid and good matchups. And if you don't already know this, home matchups are key in the MLS. So again, this opener against New York City FC might not be the worst matchup in the world for them. And then they got a really tough one going to Philly. Cincinnati comes at home, tough. But the schedule isn't too bad as far as your first 6 matches. So that's it for Chicago Fire. We will move on to the next team in the East in our next video and keep this series rolling. Thanks for watching.